Hello everyone, it's D-Vang again, doing part 6 of my Shadows of Brimstone Gencon 2014 unboxing. I guess this part isn't really unboxing, but it's going to give us a little bit more. I thought I'd give you guys a little bit more information on the adventure books. So you got the adventure book for the Swamps of Death, and for the City of the Ancients. Their awesome cover art. Just sort of do a quick, kind of a quick run through and talking about them. So, interesting enough, only I would probably guess about a third of the two books is the same. They are even kind of laid out a little bit differently. Obviously, some of the differences are sort of specific, is that, they've got different heroes. So the City of the Ancients talks about the gunslinger and how his ability works. It's got the level ups for, the U.S. Marshal, the Saloon Girl, the Bandito, and the Gunslinger, and it has their upgrade charts. So obviously those parts between the two, because they have different heroes, will be different. They do talk about hero classes and leveling up. Injuries and madness mutation, all those are going to be the same between the two of them. The missions, so there are 12 missions in each book. 6 are considered basic, and those are actually the same between the two of them. You have For a Few Darkstone More, Exploration, Seal the Void Gate, Search Party, Escape, and Below the Mine. And then there's 6 that are going to be somewhat specific, varying amounts of specific to the particular other world that comes with that core set. There are some missions that have fixed map. Those are, I believe, all only the advanced ones that are going to be specific. I believe all 6 of the basic missions are all random, so obviously a lot of replayability between the exploration tokens and the missions and the mission objectives and the random map as well. So one thing to know about missions is that they do lists. Obviously they have setup and mission setup. Focus again. They have a mission setup and goals. The focus isn't going to work. Sorry, people, but that's all right. Goals, objectives, rewards for if you succeed, and as well, there's a failure section. And failing a mission is not very good. I know there was some concern about, because I know one of the things the rule says is, even if not everybody's KO'd, the group can just leave. They can just fail. There is a downside to failing. They can range from a building in the town being destroyed, so you can't use it when you go back to town. There are some where the whole town's destroyed, so you can't do anything in town. There are ones where you can't even go to town. And there's ones where you, for example, can start off the next adventure wounded already. So they have some various severity. You could take, there's this one that says if you fail, each hero takes D3 corruption points, ignoring willpower. You don't get a save against them. You just get D3 corruption points, which could be enough to make somebody mutate. So they can be dangerous to fail, but if all else, if it comes down to it, it is still potentially better than being KO'd, especially if the whole group KOs. Obviously with KO, whether it's through sanity or health, you then also have to roll in the injury or madness chart. But just because things aren't going very well, there is some disincentive to just trying to cut and run and cut your losses without giving it a thorough go. you'll be able to obviously judge that based on your the mission you're on, the scenario you're doing, and how bad the effects of failing are. But there is some good disincentive. I don't think it's going to be an issue when you're playing. I mean, I think it will be a tough decision to decide to leave without making your best shot at succeeding. Just because it can be a real pain, I can see from what they have for failing. So there's differences. There's different art in different places. Actually, these are kind of cool, and I think these are from some of the Kickstarters players, people. You got these little sort of vignettes, or these little portraits with this little story of these various people, and they're spattered. They're throughout both adventure books. And those are pretty cool. And obviously, the artwork inside is pretty cool. And there are different artwork between the two books. The section on the town, traveling to the town and visiting the town is the same. Again, but the artwork is different. So, and they're laid out a little bit differently. Interesting thing to know. So how towns kind of work, as a brief overview, is you go to town. You can be there for a couple days if you want, and each day you can go to a different location. And but each day you're there, at the end of each day, you have to roll for a town event, and town events are bad. So the longer you're there, the more town events, and the more likely you are to get a town event. Additionally, each character who goes to a location has to roll a location event. And that's why when I went through in the third one, I kind of mentioned the boards for each of the locations. They had things to buy, but they also had this event chart. Everybody has to roll in that event chart. So you're always going to have some interesting thing happen at the location you are at before you're able to actually interact with the location for buying, purchasing things, which is kind of interesting. And they're not all bad; they're all good. And there's kind of a mix, as I recall, of those. But that's kind of interesting idea. And then one of the other things about the town is you have this option of the hotel, of staying in the hotel at the end of the day, or going back to a campsite. Well, the hotel costs you $10. It costs you $10 a night to stay at the hotel. But that's all. It just costs you $10. The campsite, you have to roll. It doesn't cost you anything, but you have to roll on the camp hazard chart. So staying out, in the wilderness around Brimstone is not particularly safe. So it is kind of dangerous, and you could run into some bad things while you're camped out overnight. So there's the disadvantage of doing the campsite in exchange for it not costing anything. So, and then you leave town. Again, some more kind of cool artwork from the City of the Ancients. And we can kind of look at some of the Swamps book. So, very cool art. And let's see if I can get again, some of those, kind of cool things, images, hand-drawn images, and then, and this is neat. There's a map. There's a map of Brimstone. Here's Brimstone as just the ruins of Brimstone and kind of the surrounding area. And again, as I recall, some of the Kickstarters, some of these locations were actually named either for the hometowns or for some Kickstarter players, and some of them actually sound like it. It's actually pretty cool. It's a pretty cool map. So it'd be interesting to see how. I haven't read real closely through all the scenarios, so I don't know if any of them actually reference any of these areas, but it certainly could be something kind of cool potentially if you want to throw a little more role playing, or somehow fit in some extra adventures, perhaps doing one sort of outside that could relate to some of these other locations on the map. You've got obviously cool spread of miniatures painted, assembled and painted for you. You could use as obviously as a guide for making your own, doing your own models. Each of them, the adventure books, has the story of Brimstone with these accompanying images, which is the same. Overview of enemies that are contained in the core set. Obviously, that's going to be different between the two. And of course, background on the other world. This is the swamps of Jarango, or Jargano, I guess. And then, interesting, they have this comic in the back, Shadows of Brimstone. And there are actually two different comics. They feature kind of the same four characters: Kane the Marshal, Annie the Rancher, Rico the Bandito, and White Crow the Indian Scout. And but kind of neat. And of course, in the back we have the character sheets, which you can photocopy. Obviously, you can also pick up the nice handy pad of character sheets like I did. Travel hazard chart in the back, a mutation chart. There is a glossary of terms. It's not going to focus for me right now, but there you go, a little bit. So it talks about all the different things. What is a corruption point and things like that. They have a FAQ and clarification page, which I think a lot of these actually came from some of the questions that the Kickstarter folks had. Obviously, some of those were from playtesters as well. And then they have kind of neat, sort of as a side, some painted upcoming figures. So the Doctor and the Female Doctor and Jarango Tribal Men, and of course the Sand Kraken. Yes. Anyway, it's looking like a lot of fun. Oh, and speaking of charts, I know somebody had asked about the injury and madness charts, and those are pretty much as they guessed. A 2 is dead. Actually, a 12 is good. So if you roll boxcars, it's actually +1 max grit. An 11 does nothing, and everything else is bad. And there's said it's a 2d6 roll, and there are some things that can modify it or shift you up towards the lower end of the scale, which is worse. But you sort of have a 1 in 12 of something good, or 11, I guess, and 1 in 11 of something nothing happened to you, and then the rest are all bad. They're all going to affect your stats. So both for madness and injury. So they're actually pretty severe when you get to one. I mean, some of them get really pretty tough. Obviously, the higher, the closer you get to 11, it's going to be a little more minimal. So you might get a -1 to your combat, or -1 in initiative, things like that. And they get more severe the closer to 2 you get, and 2 is a dead. And obviously, you can be resurrected at the church for a campaign. So, we're really looking forward to playing this. If anybody has any other information that they want to know about, again, I'm trying to avoid doing the charts. Actually showing those, because I know Flying Fog was a little sensitive, understandably. And there's no real reason to go into that. We'll figure it out, as they get distributed out. And I certainly, I'm certainly willing to answer a bunch of questions regarding them. I just didn't want to throw up actual images for everybody to display. So feel free to email me or post in the forums, ask me questions. Um, I'm debating, doing some gameplay videos or something. Um, just because I really want all you other folks to get as much enjoyment and be able to see this. I know you're you know I know how excited I get about this new game, and I'm sure you guys are too. And I have the opportunity to bring this to you. So, but we'll see. That won't be till after Gen Con, most likely. I don't know about doing a actual gameplay video with the tablet, in the convention where it's loud and noisy and stuff. So, but anyway, so again, feel free to contact me or put up a post, ask me questions. I'll answer to the best of my ability, and look forward to everyone getting Shadows of Brimstone out, getting the word out, making it super popular. Getting Flying Frog to be able to get all the other goodies that we got coming to us. It looks beautiful. The as I said in some other posts that they had three demo tables of Shadows of Brimstone, and every time I walked by, it was packed with players and people, gawking at it and watching the gameplay, the demo gameplay. So it seemed really popular. It's just a blast to play, and pretty soon I'm going to break these fully open and do that. I do have the cards that I have not actually opened any of the card packs, so I don't know what's in those. Let me know if you actually want me to kind of go through the cards. I can probably do something like that here and look through the card decks if that's something that you guys are interested in. Obviously, I don't want to throw up a bunch of the pictures of them, but I can kind of skim through them and show you a few and see what's in there if that's interesting to people. It's not a big deal either way. So anyway, have fun, and as Will Wheaton says, play more games.